Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Reach out to me directly for pricing. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Back in 2013, we saw the first iteration of this series. That was the Regatta Timer PAM526. For 2022, we got 230 pieces of the watch you see here in grade 5 titanium. The Panerai Luminor Regatta Chronograph Flyback PAM01299. It's mean in green, which is au courant these days, but it's also an enduringly useful complication as regatta timers, though ostensibly intended for boat racing, can be used for all kinds of tailored timing occasions. The watch is also one of the most complicated and highly evolved Panerai mechanisms, short of the minute repeaters and the tourbillon regulators. So let's take a look at this PAM01299. It's a big Luminor 1950 style case, 47 millimeters in grade 5 titanium. Though it's tie, it's fairly big. So it's still hefty. It doesn't feel like a toy. It's 19.2 millimeters thick, which is the most dramatic of its dimensions, as it is very thick, but it's also broad at 56.2 millimeters across the wrist with a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw it on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. You can see it's big. It's too big for me, although big is kind of the style with Panerai, so you don't need a much bigger wrist to wear this in earnest. I can tell you, if your wrist is my size and you really like it, go for it, because it will fit securely, and it's not as heavy as it could be, being mostly sapphire and titanium. It's large, but it's not going to be, say, as embarrassing as something like an IWC big pilot's watch worn on a small wrist. After all, the original Panerai combat watches were often worn on biceps, so this is very much the look for Paneristi. Taking a look at the strap, it fits the image of the watch. Green, olive drab military textile. I would say the notion of a luxury yacht race and special ops in the military, an odd juxtaposition, but then again, Panerai has always been a little bit of a contradiction, as that is its heritage, but it's always been a luxury brand in the modern era. We have a green leather gusset sewn in to prevent gouging of the strap. On the bottom, you can see olive green leather all the way, brand new Panerai strap, trapezoidal, satin finished titanium Panerai pin buckle, Luminor 1950 case, which stylistically is a little bit closer to the original 1950s Panerai 6152 combat watches than the 1990s era Betterini case Luminor models. So we have satin, we have polish. This is grade 5 titanium, you know, because it's polished. You can't really polish the grade 2 stuff. So it's hypoallergenic and light the way titanium is, but it's also more scratch resistant than standard watchmaking steels because it is grade 5. There is a rubber shoulder around the crown, and then we have the device protecting the crown. Look carefully, you can see there's a little bearing inside the lobe, the cam lobe that locks the crown. This was conceived in the 40s, implemented in the 50s. The idea was, back when all Panerai watches were manual wind, it was really wearing out the crown seals because they were made by Rolex up until the device protecting the crown era. And those Rolex Oyster cases meant on a manual wind watch, you're screwing the crown in and out every single day to wind and maybe set the watch. So here we have a system that allows the seals to be compressed and then decompressed. There's never actually a threaded stalk moving through them, so it extends the life of the seals. It also makes it hard to jump in the water with your watch unlocked. Like, it's easy enough to miss a screw down crown that's backed out a few turns. It's a lot harder to miss that. Also important, a watch with conventional shouldered crown guards is still vulnerable to parallel knocks against the crown itself. If it gets hit square from outboard at a 90-degree angle to the case band, it could still be damaged. With this, the device protecting the crown, you have more protection. And finally, it's easy to lock and unlock when your hands might be wet, sweaty, or gloved. A screw-down crown can get tight. This is still very user-friendly even when your hands are wet. 100-meter water-resistant watch, and the second I lift the locking lever, I can set the watch, I can wind the watch very easy. You will take note, the watch does have a hacking seconds function, so you can stop the time and synchronize precisely to a reference time. I'll show you another fun feature of this movement. If you take a look at the chronograph seconds hand, it has a 0 reset system that automatically resets the hand to the index at 60, so it becomes even easier to set it against a reference time. Chronograph hands, the seconds, the minutes, and the hours are all varnished orange. We'll do a quick lume shot here because the watch has plenty of it. Luminor It's a name, but it's also an effect. You can see that even sub-register hands here are luminescent. And then we have the famous Panerai sandwich dial, where we have a stencil that includes the indices and numerals over a solid disc of lume. This dates back to the vintage Panerai combat watch days, and it is a style signature of the brand today. The dial base is that olive green and a matte finish, and then you could see that we have a radial minute hand, much like an old Lamagna chronograph caliber. Now, the way this works is it's a 60-minute radial hand, so that's a feature a lot of chronographs don't have. They have 30 or 45 minutes on a sub-register. Here you get a true 60. You can also see that we have the hours adjacent to the crown. We've got a flyback system, so you can reset and restart without first stopping the watch, which is always handy. But if we want to stop and then reset, you'll note that we have the ability to program in how much we want to actually set back the minute hand. See what I'm doing here? I'm programming in the time until the start. Now, once that happens, you can always reset just like that before you start, or you can start from the pre-programmed time. And then when the hand gets to 0, you know to start the race. So you have to have the chronograph inactive in order to be able to program it. But you could see that you're able to program it out to a standard 10 minutes, 10 and 5 being critical intervals in a regatta. You can even take it out to 15 minutes. So it's a very handy countdown timer, regardless of what you're doing. It might be that you're waiting for a flight, or it's an intermission during a show, or you're cooking something. It can be used for all those. You don't need to own a yacht and be a racer. You can also see that there's a tachymeter scale outboard calibrated for relatively low speeds. So maybe if you're an America's Cup racer, you need more than 30 knots, and you can see it is calibrated for knots. But the idea here is that with the chronograph in action, you have the ability to use the chronograph to gauge speed the way you would on a tachymeter used for aeronautical or automotive applications. Of course, remember, it is a flyback chrono, which is a lot of fun. So if you are timing something like a race car around a track, mentally just add an extra 0, and then you can use the tachymeter and the chronograph for that as well. No date, but plenty of features. You can see that the programming switch for the countdown is orange in profile, and then we turn it all over, and we have caliber P9100R. So twin mainspring barrels, bidirectional automatic winding, ceramic rotor bearings, 3-day power reserve, 37 pivot joules. We have a 4 hertz beat rate. You can see we have a free sprung balance for toughness and precision of adjustment. And of course, we have a chronograph that uses a combination of a column wheel and a vertical clutch. So thanks to the column wheel, we have an exceptionally crisp action. And thanks to the vertical clutch, we have very smooth action. The chronograph starts without any stagger or jump, and if you wish, you can leave the chronograph running on a full-time basis. That's another one of the advantages of a vertical clutch. We'll turn the case back over, and as you can see, it is a Y serial corresponding to 2022, 100 meters water resistant, titanium. We have that 1970s style Panerai OP logo, and then we have a quick release system for the strap. So you can see you actually push the plunger on the bottom, then you press the bar through, and the watch comes with tools that allow you to easily make swaps. And there are universes of Panerai aftermarket straps available in this 26mm size if you want to engage in strap swapping, a huge part of the Panerai ownership experience. And this is one of the premium watches. Some Panerai watches today have spring bars. It's great to see this system because it's more expensive, but it's befitting the image of the company today, and it's what I like to see here. Plus, it's an iconic design. Everyone knows what this is. They know what brand, they know what model line. That kind of iconic design is rare in the industry. It's what everyone wants and claims to have, but only a few genuinely do. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.